Yes, guys, welcome to another L Bins episode, the final one of 2024. So it's going to be the best episode we've ever had. Lots to discuss. City won a game. Jack gone bomba. Couple names going in there, especially in terms of outgoings, but not a lot in terms of incomings. We'll speak about that as well. Make sure you guys are smashing up these likes, guys, on the way in. Over 300 people locked in already. Let's get these likes right up. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Nobbins as well. Link in description. I will get some shout outs done in a second. But Nobbins, we won a game. How you doing, Bray?
Crazy. And a clean sheet. Mental.
I don't know how. But yeah,
who'd have thunk it?
We did get that.
I'd love to say Christmas came early, but it didn't. It came slightly late, but it's fine. Better late than never. And we've Santa finally gift wrapped us our 3 points, courtesy of many Leicester City big chances missed. But who cares? It's a win. Literally all I care about right now is getting the points. We are those guys right now. But yeah, I'm doing very well. Lovely Christmas. Excited for the new year.
Yeah. Good. Okay, let's do some shout outs, guys, and then we'll speak about this bomber news. But why there's a slight concern in there as well. Big up to Connor, big up to Canadian Citizen, Itchy Goat, Sean, Jack, Stubbsy, Brett, Rajiv, KDB fan, Sojal, Dupe, Axia, Aiden Green as well. Just become a channel member. Appreciate that, Aiden. Big up, lad. Appreciate that, bro. Big up to Sojal, Quinton, Ash, Cheeky Burger Stain. Big up to King Harland, MCFC for life, Akshit, Rodri C, Shaky Warrior, AJ, Party Time, Adnan, Fiddy. Big up to Brub, FB, Sinathan. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Make sure you guys are smashing these likes up if you've not done so already, people. Big up to Aiden again as well. Okay, well, I do want to start off with this news that's just coming out from Jack Gaughhan. We'll speak about the game in a bit, yeah. But here's the thing, yeah. Jack Gaughhan has done his piece in the Daily Mail, and obviously Jack Gaughhan's quite a good source. However, in the article where he speaks about Jack Grealish, he speaks about the fact that Tottenham and Newcastle are monitoring him ahead of the January transfer window, which I think is quite interesting as well. He also speaks about Edison in the article, saying Edison is still basically looking at Saudi Arabia. He also speaks about Matheus Nunes and Kyle Walker, who are also potentially looking at options to leave. However, there's not a great deal in terms of coming in. He's saying that City were apparently interested in Pablo Barrios at Atletico Madrid, but that's been cancelled now. And it's kind of I don't know. We were speaking about a little bit off air, and I want to know the chat's take as well. We're obviously signing players. I think we all agree on that. If we don't sign players, then I don't know what the fuck's going on. So I think we are signing players, but the lack of transfer speculation from any reputable source whatsoever, that there just are none. And I wonder why. We're not getting a crumb of anything when it's talking about incomings, because we're not getting any news really. We're getting some from like some sources, but they're dead sources. All the good sources, they're not getting anything at all in terms of incomings. And I want to ask why. I wonder why that is. Why the club holding it back? Like, is there a reason?
I've no idea. I know that, again, I don't know how much stock there is in this, but lots of people on Twitter were saying, oh, it's because Barada was a leak and now he's gone and now the leaks have stopped. I've no idea if there's any validity in that, but I know lots of people have been saying that. Yeah, I guess that it makes sense from a business perspective, because you don't really want to be showing your hand to the wider public. So I guess in that instance, it makes sense. It's just a little bit frustrating, like just from a pure, without trying to be logical about it, just from a pure fan perspective, it's nice to sort of be kept in the loop in terms of like your club's business dealings. But yeah, I don't have an issue with them being, with that, holding their cards to their chest, because it sort of makes it a little bit exciting, because the assumption, as you say, is we will bring someone in, at least someone, and hopefully, as I say, it's a business-related decision to keep the cards close to their chest. But yeah, I've obviously no idea why. We're not really linked with anyone. That doesn't mean we aren't going for anyone. There's obviously a big difference there, isn't there?
Would you be surprised if Grealish did leave in January? I can't see him leaving in January, personally. I just think it's like we need players in. I mean, maybe if we buy 4-5 players and then he could go, but I don't really see that happening. So even though in the article it talks about how Grealish is being monitored by these two clubs for a potential January move, I'll be stunned if he left in January. Stunned.
Yeah. It's same, yeah, because it's not like he'd go for pennies either. You know, I know.
35 mil.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if that happened. Also, like, there's obviously like a big wage bill that there would need to be, sorry, like a big salary that would need to be addressed by whoever is buying him. Yeah, I can see him going in the summer. I've sort of like resigned myself to that. I've gone in my squad building head. I've gone, yeah, he's going to be not with us next season. But the January one is very odd. That would only really make sense if we were definitely bringing another winger in. You know, I want Nico Williams, for example. I don't see that happening at all on any level. But that's the only way I can really see sense of that, because we already have a very small squad. It's all well and good saying get rid of Grealish, but we will need to bring someone in to replace him. So I'm a little bit, I don't quite understand that, unless we are linked with or we are going for a wide player in return, in which case, lovely, fair play.
Yeah, we have been linked with that Moosh, but again, it's not mad. And Delap, we ain't getting Delap. There's no way Delap's going to come back. And Delap doesn't solve the issue of, if you let Grealish go, you need to get someone else who can play on the wing, don't you? You can't sell Grealish and then get Liam Delap and think that's going to fix it. That's not going to fix it. You need a winger.
I don't get the Delap noise, if there is any. We don't need a striker. We need a versatile forward who can play at striker, you know, but can also play somewhere else. There's no point of bringing in a backup 9, because they will not play most of the season. They need to be able to play in the same team as Haaland. So in an ideal world, they'll be able to play as a striker and as like a right winger or as a left winger, for example. And then they can play together at the same time and not be this weird shoehorning situation like it was with Alvarez, for example. It needs to be someone who can naturally play in another position and do it really well. That's why, for example, lots of people say, you know, Lookman at Atalanta. I know it's not the exact same system, but in theory, he could play striker and he could play at left wing. As an example, not saying him, but someone like him who can do a job both ways. So I don't really see getting a Delap in. That just confuses me, to be honest.
This Mamouche guy who's absolutely cooking on gas at Frankfurt. I mean, I don't know if he's got a release clause, but people are talking about 40 million quid, which I assume must be a release clause, because the G&A this guy's getting you would be going for much more than 40 mil. He mentions him in the article, but he doesn't say like we're getting him. He just says we've already been linked with him in the past. So I don't really think it's a proper thing from Jack that. But I mean, I'd be open to the idea of bringing him in. Yeah, he's only really done it for a season and a half, but the numbers that he's putting up there, when I watch him on like the clips and that, it looks absolutely insane. But it's just weird how we're not getting the links. And I definitely think there's probably some validity in that Omar Barada's gone and now it's dead. And I know some people have said online that it definitely was. Some people who are pretty good sources online have said, it definitely was Omar Barada, who's the person who used to leak news. He's now gone, and now we get absolutely nothing. The only thing we really get from the club now is shutting things down. If you remember in the summer when we got linked with Luis Diaz, 20 minutes later, they shut it down. Bruno G, Zubimendi last week, the club shut it down. So they shut down a lot of stuff. When it's serious talk, but they're not really giving us too much. And you know what? On one hand, I'm a bit worried, because I'm like, are we not going to be serious in January? Are we not going to buy anyone in January because they're not being linked with anyone? But on the other hand, I'm like, now they're definitely going to sign someone, and when they sign him, it's going to come out the blue, and we're all going to be absolutely buzzing. It's going to be like a shock factor, which is pretty cool, like it was with Bernardo Silva. So I don't know, some of the players that we've been linked with, guys, I mean, these are pretty dead sources. Again, I'm just giving you the stuff that I've seen on Twitter. That Nico Gonzalez, we've been linked with him over the last, apparently City had, again, I think this was a decent source, City had a scout at the Porto game, I think it was last night. And people are saying City are looking at Nico Gonzalez, who I've not seen because I've not watched Porto, but Nico Gonzalez at Porto. Now, he come through the Barcelona academy, which automatically got me thinking, that has legs. Porto bought him for £8 million in the summer of, I think it was 2023. So I think he's been there 18 months now. And I believe he's got a release clause as well of around 40 to 50 million quid, something like that. So that looks like a potential option that City might go down. City did have scouts there, but at the same time, we all know this, City have scouts everywhere. So can you really read it? Oh, City had a scout at the game. Doesn't really work like that. City will have scouts everywhere watching every single game. So I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see. Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. Yeah, City have a Portuguese scout who goes to pretty much all the Sporting and Porto games to watch. So you can't really read too much into it, really. So I don't know, man. I'm a little bit. I am worried because I'm like, I want to see news just so I have confidence. But at the same time, when the news hits that we're signing a player, provided they're not absolutely shit, it should pop off, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should. Yeah, and again, as fans, all we can really hope for is that they are doing the dealings in the background, and they must be, because they obviously haven't been blind for the past few months. They know the issues, and they know that the only way that we can solve these issues is with reinforcements. So I would like to think that we bring in at least 2 players in Jan, 2 proper players. I'm not talking about 2 babies, like 2 proper players who we can integrate into the side and basically use now until May as like a pre-season in a way, and just like get them up to speed with if they're coming from a new league, with the Premier League, or just with how City play. And then starts next season, there is no bedding in process. We've bedded them in. We've tucked them into the bed, and they are now ready. That's all. That's all I want to see. And yeah, and then sort of like come August, September, when we're hopefully back in contention for a title race, we can go. There's no bedding in process. Hit the ground running. Boom. So, and then we can hit the summer hard. Because again, realistically, we can bring in 2 in Jan. We can bring in 3 or 4 in the summer. You can definitely do that. That's reasonable.
I think you can do 3 in January plus Echeverry.
Yeah, you definitely can. I'm just trying to be more conservative about it. Worst case scenario, it's at least 2, isn't it? That
yeah, it's got to be at least 2.
Yeah, definitely. And then again, worst case scenario, it's at least 3 or 4, depending on if we need like a 2 keepers situation in the summer. So that's already 5, 6 players rotated. That's quite a big chunk of the rebuild already done. That's what I want to see. That's what has to happen as well. And yeah, time will tell. We're not being fed any crumbs by our overlords. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I've no idea what's going on. It's been very hard to try to think of players who aren't already obvious or who are allegedly not linked with, i.e. Bruno Guimaraes. It's very hard to come up with other names.
And then it is, and then added on to the fact that City apparently weren't willing to pay 100 million quid for Bruno. Then you've got to look at the fee for some of these other players and say, well, if they wouldn't have spent 100 mil on Bruno, why would they spend this on him? And they wouldn't have spent 60 million quid on João Neves, who would have been a brilliant signing. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. It is a little bit strange. I tell you what he does say though in the article as well, just quickly about 115 before we will speak about the Leicester game, guys. He also speaks about the 115 because he speaks about the money that we've got available. He says City do have money. City got the £73 million worth of profit last year, and that does not include the £64 million initial Julian Alvarez fee. Obviously, there's add-ons on top of that as well. He also says City have lots of net, like our net spend has been miles lower than everybody else's. City do have money to spend. And then he says this as well. He says, figures within the game are waiting to see how much money is spent and believe that it will offer some indication on City's confidence levels regarding the case, which I completely agree with. I think it is. Now, he's saying City obviously deny that, but if City spend 200 million in January, let's just say, you would imagine City think they're going to get found not guilty. Because why would you spend 200 million pound if you think they're not going to, if you're going to get kicked out of the league? So I've said, man, I think this January window is huge. I think that we need it for the squad. The players need assistance. I think you can see that, and players. I think of, in the case of like Rodri in the past have said we need players to come in. Pep is now saying it in his press conferences. We need players to come in. And for me, if we do spend money, that'll give me a lot more confidence on the 115 case. It has to. They're not going to outspend 150, 200 million if they think they're going to get kicked out of the league in 2 months, are they? Why would they do that? Whereas on the flip side, if they only spend 40 million when the squad is dying, I'll be like,
yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think that would make sense. You'd think, as an outsider looking in, you'd think that would make sense. So yeah, hopefully we'll just go mental and splash the cash, even if it's just for vibes. Just do it. Bring me put my bloody Bruno Guimaraes in the bag or equivalents in the bag. Thank you very much, City.
Yeah, I mean, Moosh, he must have a release clause, this Moosh guy, if it's 40 million quid. Because there's no way you get 20 GA in 4 games and get sold for 40 million. So that must be a release clause. I'd be all over that. 25 years old, gets GNA, bin.
Versatile forwards. That's what we need.
Exactly. Versatile forward. He can as well, like, make us better immediately. Obviously not in the defense. You know what I mean? Because you need a DM for that or whatever. But like, I think we need to get somebody who can come into this side. And I think actually, you know what? I think we need it both in the defensive situation. Obviously, we all know we need a defender, and I think they'll get a defender. But we need a midfielder that can instantly make us better defensively, especially when we're getting counter-attacked on and stuff. But I also think, we need an attacker. I think we need an attacker who can help out as well and make us better. So yeah, go and get all my Moosh, mate. Yeah, £40 million. If that's his release clause, that's crazy. Go and get him. He can play behind, he can play left, he can play right. And then go and get me a DM and go and get me a right back. And I'm chilling. And by the way, that doesn't even have to cost that much, mate, because if you want, I'll even take Douglas Luiz as the DM as a temporary stopgap solution until you sort it out properly in the summer. So for people saying, oh, you can't spend all this money, it's not FIFA, my Moosh 40 mil, yeah, fucking Douglas Luiz loan deal, yeah, and then go and get me a right back / centre back, yeah, i.e. another Akanji, and that'll probably cost 40 mil, 80 million quid. But you'll still get fans out here saying that's unrealistic and that's you're playing FIFA. Yeah, I don't get it, man. That is completely and utterly reasonable. Echeverry on the fourth guy who's already signed. We're cooking on gas. Get rid of Wilson Esbrand. So squad size. Get rid of Wilson Esbrand. That's one gone. And then I'd personally get rid of Walker in January. That's two gone. Squad size fine, done. It's literally not an issue, man. I don't get why people make it like an issue.
It's also not an issue because we've got a small squad to begin with. So it's not like we're bursting at the seams and we're bloated. Like, we've just had 3 Christmas dinners in a row. Like, we are starving boys over here, So that's not an issue. I'll have more pigs in blankets in Turkey. That's the analogy of these players. I was just going to say on the midfield, because he said we need to improve the attack. I do agree long term, but what I would say to that as well is if we get a midfielder, then that does also go that of the requisite quality, then that will go a long way to actually help the attack as well, because there's a big disconnect right now between our defense and our attack. Like, the midfield is supposed to be like a bridge between the two, and that's what Rodri was so good at, at linking the two, getting the ball into the feet of our best players quickly, rather than again, it's not Kovacic's fault, it's not Gundogan's fault, blah, 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 blah. But they get on the ball and they either don't see the pass or they don't feel confident enough to play that pass forward. So let's say De Bruyne is waiting to receive it and they don't play it and they want to carry it instead. But the ball moves faster than a footballer. So we need a midfielder who can also like pass it forwards as well, to Foden, to De Bruyne, who can then feed, the wide players and Haaland. So that will also go a long way to improve the attack as well. So I do agree that we need to sign an attacker at some point, but just signing a midfielder who can do that will subsequently improve the attack as well, which is also a bonus and a positive.
Yeah, I agree, because as well, right, on that attack thing, soon as we lose the ball at the pitch, right, and the opposition have got it, right, so at times we still try and press them, which is, I admire the dedication, but the teams just play around our press, like it's not even there, and then they go straight through us, and then the way we get the ball back is either they score a goal, they have a shot and it's a goal kick, they have a shot and the keeper saves it, or we make a tackle on the edge of our penalty area, right? So when we I'd love to see some sort of graph or stat to see last year and years gone by the average position of where Manchester City received the ball on the pitch in terms of an interception or a tackle, or the opposition just losing the ball. Because I would guess, and I'd bet some serious dollar, that with Rodri in the team and in previous years when we've been better, we win the ball higher up the pitch. So what that means is De Bruyne, Foden, all these guys, they're not working as hard necessarily. Well, they might work hard to win the ball back, but they're not working hard in terms of just running constantly up and down. So when they've got the ball, they're already higher up the pitch, which means they're on the edge of the box, which means they can create more chances. Further, it also means that when they receive the ball, sometimes They've not just got 11 of the opposition stood behind them and they've got to break it down. Whereas when we receive the ball now, we get it on the edge of our penalty area. We've got to play all the way through the team, and it just doesn't work. So, yeah, I completely agree. I think if we make our defensive midfielder better, or just our midfield better defensively, is probably the way to word it, probably.
Yes.
Our attack will get better because of the fact that they're getting the ball higher up the pitch. And at the moment, we're not getting the ball high up the pitch, man. You can get the ball on the edge of our box. We've got to work all the way up the pitch, man. And to be honest, we ain't that good enough. So, yeah, I am interested to see what they're doing. I accept it's a tough market. I'm not out here asking, well, I am. I'd love to get Bruno G. I'm not asking for these mad players. I get that you might have to wait till the summer to do that. But what I am asking for is a little bit of ambition, help for the players that are currently in this squad that are really, really struggling. Because even though we won yesterday, let's be real, yeah, we were still not good. And on another day, we could have easily got beaten in that game. Yeah, they missed chance after chance after chance. This team needs help. And the way you do that, and I said this after 3 games into this run when I said we was in crisis and people didn't like it, we do not have the in-house solutions to fix the issue. We need players. Nobbins did a video on it. Our City broken. I did my crisis video on it. We both said the same thing. We're both right. We don't have the players in the current squad to solve it. Now, so you might do in the sense of if you play Núñez in the middle, but Pep ain't going to play Núñez in the middle. You don't like him in the middle. So it's an irrelevant conversation. When we say, have we got the in-house players in the squad to sort out our problems defensively? You could say, yeah. You could play Núñez there or Grealish there. But he doesn't want to do that, clearly. He's thrown Núñez in there once or twice. He's done all right, Núñez. You never see him again in the midfield. Grealish, you played him there against Forest, did all right. Played him against Juve, was crap. And he's not played again since. So we don't have the players to do it that Pep trusts. And if Pep don't trust it, it's pointless them being there. It's the same with McAtee. You know, McAtee should have got a chance time ago. He's not been given a chance, hence why he wanted to leave in January. He's now been given a chance. Will he stay? But I am looking forward to this January. I'm looking forward to the rebuild. I'm looking forward to fresh players. I'm looking forward to a midfield that has legs and energy, because I think personally it's sad to see our midfield, man. When they get turned and they're all running after him, man, there ain't a player in that midfield that's going to do it. Hence why the defense is getting cooked. Is there any surprise that our actual defense this year, yeah, if we forget the midfield, has been appalling? When every game they've got players just sprinting directly at them 5-6 times a game. They have zero protection. And yeah, that's not you can't just use the midfield as an excuse as to why some of these defenders are not defending properly. But I definitely think there's something in it. And it can be solved, but it can only be solved by getting a checkbook out and getting some players in, or get a lone player in the case of someone like Douglas Luiz.
Yeah, and we're going to have to hold that, to be honest, from a premium paying perspective. Everyone knows the issues at City, so obviously opposition rival clubs, you know, whether in England or abroad, will also know the issues at City. So they'll, in the same way that, you know, in 17-18, everyone knew that we were desperate for fullbacks and we had to cough up over 100 million quid on, you know, just between Walker and Mendy, because everyone knew that we were in the shit there. It's going to be a similar thing. And we are now going to have to answer and suffer the consequences of our own failures from a transfer perspective. And that's our own fault. So you have to pay a premium. So it's all well and good saying, well, we're not going to pay, or you know, we shouldn't pay £100 million for a midfielder. Well, tough. You're probably going to have to do that because you've put yourself in the situation where you're going to have to do that. And also, if we're talking about elite midfielders, that's just a going rate nowadays. You know, like Arsenal have done it with Rice, and Chelsea have done it with Enzo and Caicedo. Whatever you think of them as players, they have shown that is now around about how much you should be paying for what is the theory of a squad changing midfielder. So we're going to have to do that. And again, it is our own fault. So if we have to pay that premium, then so be it. If you want to have an elite midfield, then you're going to have to pay elite prices. And again, it's our own fault for not addressing it sooner. And we'll have to take our poison and hold that, to be honest with you. And so be it.
Yeah, now 100%, man. It's gonna be cool to see what we're doing in January. They're definitely going to spend money. The defo. When Pep comes out and says, yeah, like we need players. You're then going to sign players. So let's wait and see, man. I mean, the transfer window opens in 2 days. I think we need a midfielder by Brentford. Yeah, which
I
is
agree.
the 14th. That's 2 weeks away. I don't want to hear no excuse. Oh, they can't get a player in 2 weeks. No. That's BS. They wanted to. They could get a midfielder in within the first couple of days of the transfer window. I'm giving them 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I worry about. I mean, I'm worried about West Ham. To be honest with you, I think we might. I think if we beat West Ham, I think it'll be the similar sort to yesterday, where like we beat them, but we could have easily lost as well. I don't see us beating Brentford with the current team, right? So get me a DM by Brentford. That's 2 weeks. That's more than reasonable. Because the thing is, right, I said this. I've been saying, I've been trying to be positive, bro. Right? I've been saying, even though we crap, yeah, and we were in this horrendous run of 2 wins in what is it, 14 now or 15?
Something like that. I think it's 2 and 14. Yeah,
it's actually wild how you forget, right? But 2 wins in 14. We can get out of this rut and this run as quickly as we got in it. I promise you. Yeah, I promise you we can get out of this. Now, that doesn't mean we're getting in the title race. That's dead. Yeah, I'm talking about the feel-good factor. I'm talking about getting a couple of going into games, not predicting that Manchester City are going to lose. Because that's what we've been doing. We've gone into games as fans saying we're going to lose today. That's shit. You know what I mean? If you win a couple of games and get a couple of players in, I'm telling you, the feel-good factor will come back to the team, the manager, the players, the fans. We'll go into games starting to predict we're going to win. And I'm telling you, it can spiral. A couple of wins, a couple of players, and bang, we'll go on a 5-6 game run. And listen, the league's done. It's not possible, but we can get that top 4 secured, and then see what we can do in the FA Cup, and maybe go on a bit of a run in the Champions League. I don't think we've got the squad for it, and even if we bring in players, I don't think so. But at least get me to the quarterfinal, semi-final. I don't be crashing out in the league phase. It's embarrassing crashing out in the knockout playoff game. It's embarrassing, even the last 16 for a club like Manchester City. Yeah, I mean, that is poor. We've got to be getting to a minimum quarterfinals, this football club now, because the standards have been set there. The standards have been set. And I'm not doing this standards FC where I'm going, you must win the Champions League every year and you must win the Premier League, but you've got to give it a good go, and you've got to accept when it's embarrassing. And the run that we've been on is embarrassing. And if we don't get to at least the quarterfinals of the Champions League for a club like City, when we won the treble 2 seasons ago, that is poor. And that highlights what a terrible job the squad building has done. So yeah, let's get a couple of players in by Brentford. Hopefully we can get past West Ham. I know they got battered yesterday, but please do not think that means we're going to batter him, because we are not the same as Liverpool. But if you can beat West Ham, you can beat Salford, which I predicted we'll beat both of them. That's 3 wins in a row. Get a player in, maybe 2, by Brentford. That's a test. The Brentford game's the big test to see, because you go into a stadium, it's a small, compact arena. The fans will be right up for it. It's probably a night match. I've not even checked, but I'd hazard a guess it'll be a night match. They'll cook us on transition, and that will be the game to see whether or not we've improved in our defensive issues. That game right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it should be quite straightforward, to be honest. And it's also, again, like going back to the idea of investing a lot of money, but we are at serious risk of not qualifying for next season's Champions League, which is a massive monetary boost in itself, from like a broadcasting perspective, but also from people want to have a go at City for commercial situations. But let's just think about it logically for a second. If you are a brand and you want to do like a long-term deal with a football club, and your end goal is you want your brand name to be on like people's screens whilst the Champions League is happening. Now, and let's say you want like a 5-year deal or a 10-year deal, however long you want it to be. There is only one club in the past 10, 11 years who can guarantee, in England this is, who can guarantee, not only can we guarantee your brand will be in the Champions League, it will be in the Champions League knockout stages. Bare minimum, like round of 16.
Usually semi-finals.
Yeah, exactly. So as a minimum, your brand is going to get into the knockout stage. Now, as a negotiating tool, that is a very strong stick to wield and a very strong weapon to have. So if that, and that's a big, again, that's a people don't really talk about. That's a massive thing to have to say. So if that doesn't happen, you can't fall back on that. You can go, well, you weren't consistent that year. Now we can now we're going to give you less money, and that will then impact transfer dealings. It's all linked back to revenue, isn't it? So it is massive. I know it's not like a sexy thing to talk about, but it is very important that we do get Champions League football. Now I don't know what the situation is like, so because sometimes fifth place gets it, but sometimes it doesn't. But
yeah, but obviously, if we don't get out the league phase,
then that impacts it. Yeah,
England or the Premier League's chances of getting the fifth spot. So apparently, we are doing England in the coefficient, because of course, what Nobbins and say, guys, is like certain leagues now get an extra place in the Champions League. So if England get it, the team that finishes fifth will get it. Now, at the moment, I believe that England is quite high on the coefficient. But obviously, if we go out of the league phase, not only does that screw ourselves over, because then we're knocked out of the Champions League in the league phase, which is mad embarrassing. That also hurts the coefficient of the league, which then might double fuck us if we finish fifth and then we don't get Champions League. So it's a double reason to try and get out of this league phase situation to help the coefficient. And I completely agree on what you're saying. Completely agree with Briggsy here. We should not be looking at that fifth spot and going, just get fifth. Top four is the aim. And then if we finish fifth and we get lucky, then we count our lucky stars and go, fuck me, thank you very much. But I don't want to hear no City fans say we just need to get fifth. Yeah, we need to get fourth, right? Which is bad enough saying that. Yeah, based on what we've done over the last few years, that's bad enough. Saying those words coming out my mouth is disgusting. But that's the minimum aim. If we get fifth and we get it, mint. But we're not mint. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So again, it's all well and good saying, oh, we can't justify investing 100 million quid. But what if that 100 million quid on one player gets you into the Champions League next season and gets us through the knockout phase? All of a sudden, you've made your money back in a roundabout way. So it's from like that example I gave alone, like the commercial situation alone. So it is worth. You've got to look at it as an investment into it, a long-term investment as well as a short-term one. Like in terms of like getting us out of the shit now, but also like long-term, it gives us a stronger stick in terms of like negotiating as well. We'll probably make the money back from that perspective.
The good news, of course, is we've got the Club World Cup, and which is, how much do you get for the Club World Cup? Is it like 70 mil if you win it?
We're not going to win it at this point, are we?
So, well, yeah, probably not. But obviously, there's another transfer window. I think we can buy players just before we go into it. So if we do get out of the Champions League and win that could replace some of the money, man. But yeah, it's going to be, it's a big year, isn't it? It's a big year. And what I've said is, right, these transfers, I think these transfers will set our club up for the next decade. And that next decade of either success or failure, I think will be determined depending on what we do on this rebuild. That doesn't mean this January. That doesn't mean this summer. I think the next 4 transfer windows, January, summer, the next 4 windows, because that will then be the rebuild complete. Because I think to completely rebuild this squad, as much as I'd love them to do it in January in the summer, it's not going to happen. They've left themselves way too much to do, which is why it should have started after the treble. Anyway, after these next 4 windows, so this January, the summer, next January, that summer, that's the rebuild completed. And I think depending on how well you've done and the hit rate of success on the players that you've bought, that will determine where we go over the next 10 years. I really think it's that important, because if you look back at the hit rate that we had when we bought all these players in like 2017, the Walkers, the Laportes of this world, we got Diaz a few years later, all these players, we got massive successes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a lot of players that we bought in that era that have basically been the core of this squad that have been failures. Even the ones that we sold, Sane, not a failure. Sterling wasn't a failure. Mahrez, the ones that have left have not been failures. We need that sort of hit rate again. We need Tiki here to pull something out of the bag here, and get us a load of ballers. Because if we get them, boom, we're cooking on gas for the next 5-10 years. If we get a couple Nunez's, and this is not meant to be a dig, but if we get some Nunez's, Phillips, it's going to be tough. Pep says it himself. It's not me, it's the players. And whilst he's not fully right there, he is also right in the sense that if he has shit players, we will do shit. Hence why we've done 2 winnings in 14, because the players are not good enough. They can't do what he wants them to do. You've got to get him the players that he needs and that are good enough.
Yeah, definitely. And just on, it's like that. I don't know, I'm going to butcher the analogy, but it's something like if you give me, like a junk food recipe whatever, I can only make junk food. Whereas if you give me like a 3-star Michelin star recipe and ingredients, then I can make a massive, a wonderful meal. So the manager is relevant, obviously, but if you give the manager shit and you ask him to cook up a 3-star Michelin dish, he ain't going to be able to give you that, is he? He's going to give you fucking, I don't know, liver and tripe or some bullshit and an ox tongue on top, I don't know. And then just like on what you said there about, we can't bring in, again, this isn't a dig, but players like, Kovacic, Nunes, Phillips, etc. If the starting point for City is, and it is for Pep, is I want a small squad, which is like, okay, fine. Whatever we think about that, fine. That's his starting point. Then therefore, every single element of that squad needs to be first team quality, because by nature, by very virtue of you having a small squad. So therefore you are setting yourself up for, you can't have a squad player can't exist in a world where you've got a small squad, because you're going to have to be using everyone consistently.
Well, I remember when you did that stream on your channel like 2 weeks ago when you was doing the squad building thing. And then you had, what was the box called on the left? Like star players or something.
Like Jules stars, yeah.
And what did you have? Like 4 or 5 players in this current squad?
Yeah.
5. Right? And then I went through the treble side. And how many was in that list? It was like 10, 11.
Yeah.
I'm talking like ballers, mate. Because remember in the treble year, Walker was still a good football player, with all due respect. So he was a jewel. He's not a jewel anymore. Yeah, Mahrez was there. Bernardo was there. Haaland was there. Do you know what I mean? De Bruyne was there. You can't put De Bruyne in that category now because he hardly plays. So, yeah, listen, we know what we've got to do. We've got to buy players, and we've got to buy good players. We've got to buy players that go into the first team. Now, are they going to be able to do that in January? The sort of vibe I'm getting, you can disagree, have your own opinions. The vibe that I'm getting is that they're not going to be getting that quality of player in January. I think what they're going to do in January is buy players that are, I want to say Bernardo-esque when he was at Monaco, but he was probably a little bit above that level. He was already pretty balling out there. But like players who are good, but on the peripheral of being mint, yeah? So Moosh, maybe he can get him if he's got a release clause, but that sort of player. And then I think in the summer, when the market's easier and teams are more allowing to let the players leave, because no one really wants to sell a player like Bruno G or whoever in January, then we'll go and get the big hitters. Now, that's not going to be... Some people are not going to like that because some people want the big players and I want the big players. But if we can't get them in because the clubs are unwilling to sell them, what can we do? They've just got to start the rebuild. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm saying take this as sort of like a pre-season now to the end of the season. Get a couple players in here. Yeah, get that top 4 secured. See what we can do in the cups. But let's have this as a sort of like a pre-season. Get some players in the summer and go again. It's shit to say it because it's December, but that's the reality of it. And if we can't get these Bruno G's in, then what can you do?
Yeah, it's a very limited, especially in the central midfield market. It's very limited in terms of the elites of the elites, and also when you like set a filter to what is realistic from a transfer perspective, that list becomes even smaller. So it might not be a case of we sign someone, I don't necessarily agree with this, but it might not be the case that we sign someone who is like, they are top of the food chain now. Someone like, Chouamini, for example, it might not be someone like that. It might need to be someone who's maybe like, in theory, a tier slightly below, but with the ceiling of that level of player. So we might not be signing a world-class player now, but we might be signing someone who's great now, but with the idea that they will become that world-class level of player. Maybe that's the sort of mold that
the one player
for.
Yeah, I agree. The one player that I'm interested to see if City do any business for in January is Kimich. But because Kimich is, I don't know, he's maybe slightly older than we like, right? But he's a player that can come in, he can play right back, he can play CDM. He'd be available for pretty cheap, given the fact he's only got 6 months left on his contract. Rumor has it that apparently he's open to the idea of joining the Premier League because he's obviously been in Germany his whole career, and this next contract will basically see out his best years before he eventually goes to the MLS or Saudi or whatever. He's a player that could come in and help us. He's got the experience as well to help us get us through this situation. Now he's not the long-term option, but if we can't get a Bruno or a Zubimendi in, maybe you could bring him in. He's worked with Pep Guardiola before as well. Do you know what I mean? So there shouldn't be too much adaptability, just to the league, not the tactics. But of course, he's also a big part of Bayern's plans. He plays pretty much every game. So would they really want to sell him? I don't know. You know, so I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. Like I say, I'm worried because I'm not hearing anything and I get anxious about these things. But at the same time, I'm also very excited. I'm very excited to see what the future holds for this squad. But yeah, let's see what happens.
If we can see, and everyone can see it, obviously, then obviously the people in charge who know a lot more than us will also be able to see it. And yeah, I'd like to think over the next couple of windows, we will be seeing a sort of 17-18 level of transformation, because that's the situation that we're in now. You know, they tried to delay it for another year. The injuries bit them in the booty, and it didn't quite work out for them. So yeah, we need that transformation as soon as possible, and lots of money will be spent. But we haven't had a massive spending window in ages. You know, I was like, again, I think I was like talking about it on like one of my streams. When was the last time we signed a first choice like midfielder, for example? I'm not talking about a player who's
first choice midfielder. Let's go on. Let's have a look.
I think it's Rodri.
Yeah, so last year it was Núñez, who's not first choice. It was Kovacic, that's not first choice. The year before that, Phillips, not first choice. Perone, not first choice. The year before that, Alvarez, who's technically a striker. Grealish, who's a winger. The year before that, we're now in 2020, 2021. No midfielders in that year. Go back again, 2019, 2020, Rodri.
Yeah.
So it's 2019. That's fucking terrible, isn't it, really?
So 5 years, and he's also like a defensive midfielder, not even like, you know, like a central midfielder necessarily. So we'd have to go even back further there. So it's just like I think that just goes to illustrate that we're not after a midfielder. We're in a situation where we need to rebuild the entire midfield, essentially, because we've let it get to this point. Whereas that's 5 years ago since we signed a
so
starting.
How many players since then have we signed in midfield that are squad rotation?
Phillips, Kova, Núñez, at least 3.
Yeah, Phillips, Perone, I guess you could throw into that. It was 11 million quid. It's not nothing money, that 11 million quid. So yeah, Phillips, Perone, Kovacic, Núñez, Gundogan. You know, this is why for me it's like when people say, oh, you can't just go out and spend 90 million, 80 million on a midfielder. Well, you've spent that money on these players and they're not good enough. So what's the point? You might as well just go and spend the money. You might as well just go and bought the better player, because you buy cheap, you buy twice. The only thing is we've not bought cheap. We bought bloody expensive players. Phillips at 40 million, Núñez at 50 million, and they're not good enough. So rather than spending that money, go out and hit the big players and get the best players. Look at Caicedo now at fucking Chelsea.
An elite midfielder, you need to pay the elite bucks.
That's probably the best midfielder in the league right now.
Yeah, that is the landscape of which we are in. Now, whether you think that's too much for him is irrelevant. That is what the market has decided is his price, and the fact that Rice and Enzo went for a similar-ish amount tells us that is now just a going rate. So if we do have to spend over 100 million, then we have to spend over 100 million, and it's our own fault for, as Elby said there, not investing in like 5 years and buying squad players who are fine, but you need to balance squad players with first team players. Like, I'm
going to ask you a serious question here, bro, on chat. Let me know what you think as well on this one. Serious question, yeah. We're not trying to cook him, just genuine asking a question.
Sure.
Do you think there's a little bit of PTSD with the Jack Grealish because we've spent 100 million on him, and the club are like, don't know if we want to spend 100 million pound again on a player because it's not really worked out?
If that is the thought process, I think that's foolish, because look, it's worked for other clubs, and again, I know that even though City have this weird brand image of they spend a lot of money, they actually don't really in the grand, certainly relative to what people think. Like, you know, to compare, like, you know, United or Chelsea in particular, we actually don't spend that much money in the grand scheme of things, considering how much we could spend. So I think that they're still sort of trying to hold on to that as some sort of identity. They don't want to spend like too much on like an individual unless like they have to, like if it's a release clause, for example. I just think that you've got to get out of that mindset. I'm not saying that you need to go gung-ho mental. Every single player should be over 100 million quid. But I do think that they need to get out of that. If that is the case, they need to get out of that mindset and get out of it quickly.
No, I don't think they are. I don't think I was just asking the question because I wanted to see what people thought. But no, I don't think they are. People are saying we went for Rice, we went for Bellingham. So
yeah, exactly. You know, I know that we negotiated it down, but we were willing to at one point spend a world record amount for a defender in Gvardiol as well. I don't know how much stock there is in that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any stock. I just thought I'd ask a question, see what people thought. Smash these likes up, people, by the way. 1,000 people locked in already. Let's get these likes up. What likes are we on, man? 300. Let's see if we get to 400. Please hit that thumbs up button, man. Really helps support the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Nobbin's channel. Link is in the description.
I will be doing I will be doing a video. 2 players Man City must sign this transfer window. That'll be released before the West Ham game. So
Bruno G.
You know what? It isn't, because that would be too obvious. No, because I've already done my analysis on Bruno G, so there's no point treading old territory. I'm recommending a different midfielder. So, but you have to subscribe to go see who that's going to be. It'll be released before the West Ham game in the new year.
Okay, interesting. We'll keep our eye out for that one. Okay, big up to Stallion. Says, so the players that Jack Gar mentioned are assessing their futures. Edison and Nunes missing since the derby. Not injured, in my opinion. Walker and Grealish have missed Everton. Clearly not in Pep's plan. Well, this is another thing of like, now we're getting closer to January, Stallion. Is Pep a little bit more willing to put his loyalty aside for some of these players that maybe want to leave, don't want to be here? Because it might all just be a big coincidence, Stallion. It might just be a big coincidence that these players, who has been mentioned in the article today, who all apparently assessing the futures, are all injured at the same time. Maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe it's not. So we'll see. But yeah, potentially Pep is now more willing to, drop the players, not pick them because we're closer to January. Whereas 2 months ago, if he dropped Gundogan, or not necessarily Gundogan, because Gundogan's not done anything wrong in terms of effort, it's just not good enough anymore. Like if you drop like the Walkers, who's the captain, and the Grealish, who's got a big voice, all these players, if you drop them, you've got to get through 2 months worth of fixtures until you get to January. And that could cause big problems in terms of dressing room toxicity, togetherness. Now, in reflection, you probably just should have done that anyway because we've won 2 fucking football matches. But at the time, maybe that's what he's thinking. But now we're getting closer. Maybe that's why he's more willing to put McAtee in there. Because he's like, fuck these guys. Yeah, they're shit now. So I don't care about playing. I'll play McAtee. But if you put McAtee on the pitch instead of a Grealish, or you put a Simpson Pusey on instead of a Walker or whatever, maybe 2 months ago that could have caused issues. I don't know. We don't fully know. All I know is, if you think that it's been rosy in that dressing room for the last 2 weeks, the last 2 months, and that everyone's been singing Kumbaya, and everyone's been chilling and happy clappy and, we'll get through this together, then you've never played football in your life. Because I tell you now, even at Sunday League level, it fucking kicks off. And this is Premier League level. Some of these players are getting embarrassed on a weekly basis. You think they're just sitting there saying, we'll go. What you see on Twitter from the players and what you see on fucking Instagram, after a match, or we'll keep fighting. You think that's the thing in the dressing room after every game, and that they don't have arguments and probably scraps, then I don't think you're living in the real world, or you're probably not playing football at not even a decent level, just with adults, because I'm telling you now, it would have gone off. And I reckon players have been called out by other players. I reckon Pep's had his work cut out, man. That's why he's probably been looking so stressed, because he's been trying to keep the ship together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and these players have pride. They are treble winners. They are 4-peat winners. They don't like losing. Funnily enough, and you can call them sore losers if you want, but I'd rather they be sore losers than good losers, because that means that losing doesn't hurt them. I want it to hurt them, and they will hurt. Yeah,
bro. Gundogan said it at Barca, didn't he, last year when they got beaten a game, and he come out after the game and went, everyone's just sat there chilling. Why did he say that? Because at City, when that happened at City, there would have been fireworks in the dressing room. Now imagine it when you've not won a game, bro. You've won fucking 2 games in 14. So it shows that the fight's still there if that's happening, which I think it is, which is good. And I've got to say, since I called the players out after Aston Villa, because after Aston Villa, I genuinely believe that some of those players weren't fighting. I have seen some fight. I've seen some fight against Everton. Yes, people will always find clips of certain situations, which makes it look like they're not. But in my opinion, yeah, Everton, I saw a little bit of fight. I saw fight yesterday. Now, fight does not equal quality, and fight does not equal you're going to start winning football matches. But if you don't see fight, that equals you're in the shit big time. And after Villa, I was seriously worried. But listen, like I say, I do think we've hit rock bottom. That doesn't mean that we won't lose another football match, but I do think we've hit rock bottom. I do think the only way is up. We got to get through this West Ham game. We've got to get through this West Ham game. Now, if we can get a win there, I genuinely think our fortunes can change if we make signings.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? That those two things have to happen. Obviously, we have to beat West Ham. Obviously, we have to beat Salford just to get a nice run of wins. But that's all irrelevant if the quantity of signings don't happen and the quality of signings don't happen as well. Because even if everyone came back from injury outside of Rodri, he obviously can't, that's fine. And we will play better, fine. But it's not going to be solved without fresh blood, without reinforcements. So yeah.
No, I agree. Let's have a look at some of these chats, then we'll just speak a little bit about yesterday's victory, guys. Big up to Camille as well, man. I appreciate you becoming a YouTube channel member. And welcome to the squad. Links in the description, pinned comment. If anyone else wants to become a channel member, massively help support the channel. Big up to Camille. Big up to Aiden as well earlier on. And Craig as well with the £2 super chat says, LB Nobbins, predictions, Man U, Newcastle. I think Newcastle win that game.
Low key, we sort of need Newcastle to not win though, because then they'll go ahead of us in the table.
I'm not asked about that. It's December. It's December.
No, first. No, yeah, Newcastle will win. They will destroy that United midfield. It'll actually be quite comical to see Joelinton, Bruno G, and Tonali wipe out whatever combination of pivot, whether it's Mainu and Ugarte or Mainu and Fernand, whoever. And I think that it'll be a very comfortable day for Newcastle. I'd be very surprised if they didn't win the game. Very surprised.
Yeah, no, I think they'll cruise through it, to be honest with you, unless they do what they did in the cup final when they were the better team and fucking lost.
Sure.
So I don't know. Sometimes against United, you need to be the shitter team. Sometimes when you're better, that's not actually a good thing. But yeah, big up, good question, man. I might do a watch along on the second channel later. I might do a laugh along. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Second channel, more LB. But yeah, big up to Camille as well. Yesterday then, bro, City win a game, second winning 14 football matches, 2-0 against Leicester.
We're back, baby.
Are we back? Was we looking to win? Are people being too happy? Are people being too negative? What's your views on it, man?
The first thing to say is that we are sadly at the point where it's irrelevant how we played. We all accept now that all that matters is just getting the points on the table, because nothing.
That's a sad truth.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be saying that. Is something that we should be saying ideally in like late April, where it's like the last 5 to 10 games, all that matters is getting the 3 points on the board and getting the wins to win the title, blah, 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 blah. The fact that we are in December away against Leicester, who are going to get relegated, and saying that isn't good, but that is the context we're in. Beggars can't be choosers when you've won 1 in 13 prior to the game. So that's the first thing to say. The other thing to say, if I want to talk about the performance, however, is that we have lost games this season and played better than we did against Leicester. I think, or drawn games and played better than against Leicester. The Everton performance, for example, I thought was a lot better. I would even say, might be controversial, I would even say the United performance was better than what we saw against Leicester across the whole 90 minutes. The point I'm making is that this was not a particularly good performance. Leicester outplayed us. They probably should have won the game. A better team certainly scores at least 1 goal. That the Vardy one in particular, which happened around just before the 70th minute, was mental. I've no idea how
the guy chips it in from the left and he puts it over the bar.
Yeah, I think it was just after. It was just after we made a sub. I can't remember if it was like just after the Walker sub or just before the Walker sub. That was insane how he didn't score that, and that was like one of however many big chances. I don't know what use there is in talking about the defensive situation and the fact that the midfield got exposed every single time, because we know now that there is nothing that we can say, oh, what a surprise. Kovacic and Bernardo weren't a solid pivot in the midfield. Like,
It
water
can't
is
be
wet.
fixed until we get new players who can help us stop that.
Yeah, so there's only so much validity in talking about that. I guess like it's sort of the fact that Walker wasn't on the pitch and we were still shit tells us that even it's not a purely Walker issue. It's not a purely one player issue. Obviously, we are better defensively, but the point I'm making is it's not just about one player fixing all of this. It's a much wider issue there. So I guess the only positive, there were some positives though. You know, I thought that going forwards wasn't great, but it was, and again, you could talk about the context of the opposition, but there were some nice movements, I thought. Yeah. I enjoyed some of the rotations on the right between Foden and De Bruyne. I loved Haaland's dribble. Didn't lead to a goal, but I loved the effort.
And not just the dribble. Haaland, I think, yesterday looked better. Now,
yeah,
I
definitely.
take the point that he still had chances that he needed to bag, whatever. But again, baby steps. Too many people in this fan base are expecting us to go from 1 win in 13 and now 2 wins in 14 to playing like we were in the treble season. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Baby steps. I'm sorry to say that because I'd love it to happen. I'd love to be wrong, but it's not going to happen. We're not going to go from playing like a bunch of under 15s, Bernardo Silva's words, not mine, to all of us smacking teams up 5-0, keeping mad clean sheets, not even have a shot on target. You're delusional if you think that's going to happen. Unfortunately, we have to take the humble medicine and we have to eat some humble pie. We have to take step by step, minor gradual improvements. Any W is a W and any slight improvement is an improvement. And I agree. Yesterday, there were a few improvements. We did attack better in the first half. Yeah, not necessarily in the second half. Haaland looked better yesterday. Savinho on the left was promising. I actually thought Foden was okay yesterday, despite him getting roasted again. Kevin De Bruyne started and seems to suggest in his interview thing that he's got more to come, which is promising. You know, we kept Ake fit again. Akanji's fit again. You know, Gavadio will get injured at some point because he's played every single game this season for club and country by one single match. And Ortega's doing all right in goal. So there are some improvements. You're not going to solve the defensive transitions, as Nobbins has already said, because we can't solve it until we buy a new player. Now, we can talk about it, but there's only we got waste energy every week talking about how shit we are defensively in transitions because it's the same thing every game. But I thought I was a bit of a happy clapper yesterday, bro, because I was actually pretty positive.
You've got, as we discussed, if you win the game after having the worst run in like 20 years, you've got to take something, haven't you? Like, it's.
Yeah, well, I think so.
Yeah. So, and again, I thought that there were issues. You know, I remember like I was like obviously doing a watch on it. Someone in my chat said, "Why aren't we pressing?" And it was perfect timing because as soon as that person said that, Kovacic came out to press, and as soon as he went, they played an immediate ball straight through the entirety of our midfield. It's like, well, that's why we're not pressing, because if we do, then we're just going to get played through anyway. So we know those issues are there. So all you can do is really look at the positives. Again, I thought a lot of the attackers did well. I thought De Bruyne struggled at times. I don't know if that's because he was like carrying a knock or is it just Father Time catching up with him? I'm not sure. But nevertheless, I still liked his rotations with Foden. I liked how, you know, we talked about how there's not enough, I don't know if bravery is the right term, but the willingness to try something low probability and, you know, always do like a more safe thing. Just like take pop shots from outside the box because you never know. Maybe there will be a second ball. Maybe the goalkeeper spills it. And that's how we scored the first goal, by a player just going, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to have a shot here. And it bounced. The goalkeeper made an error. Savio gets his first goal. So we need players to be taking more of those risks. Like McAtee, when he came on, took a risk. He saw that his opposition fullback was committed and beat him. Similar thing there. So I was happy to see that. And Savio, of course, as well. He's now got that monkey off his back in terms of his first goal. And a lovely ball to Haaland as well, playing out of position as well, Savio. So I'm going to take some positives. I know there are some negatives, obviously, but I'm going to take something.
Yeah, and there will be negatives until we sign players. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I really want to see? I want to see the same 11 play against West Ham.
Yeah, look. Yeah, I think that lots of people said start McAtee, and I think in the moment I said start McAtee as well. But I think that right now, again, McAtee played well when he came on. I don't think when we say McAtee's only played 2 minutes, I don't think anyone's really saying he's starting every single game. But we are saying maybe give him like a 20, 30-minute cameo.
That's all we've ever
Yeah.
truly wanted. That's
Yeah.
all we
So
wanted, and that's all McAtee's ever wanted. He said it at the start of the season, man. He just wants to be involved.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's not saying start me in front of Kevin De Bruyne and Foden and all these guys, yeah? He just wants to be involved. And we've got to December. We've hardly won a game. He's played 2 minutes. Yesterday, he come off the bench, obviously, with a point to prove, yeah, because obviously him or his agent have put it out to the press that he wants to leave in January, which is completely fair, given the fact he's not fucking playing. I think my theory on this is that Pep and Tiki have gone, are we going to do the same that we did with Palmer with this guy? Right. And the fact that we're closer to January and some of these players might leave, he's gone. Let me give him a chance. And he come on and I thought it was really good. Kept the ball well. He was physical. He's winning physical duels. The skill to get right. Mint. Now, yeah, I don't think we should start him against West Ham. I think personally, start the same team because apparently we have not started the same 11 once this season, like game after game, back to back.
Yeah, that does not surprise me at all. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So remember against Forest. Against Forest, we won 3-0, played quite well, right? Next game, he changed the system. It completely changed it. Palace, we drew 2-2. And that's why after Palace, my match reaction was, that was on Pep. Because we finally found a system that worked, and then he went and changed it straight away the next game. Please, 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 just stick with the same system. Stick with it. We finally found a game that we won. No, it wasn't perfect. Yes, we could have lost on another game. But if you play the same players, they might have a bit of confidence. Stick Savio left, man. Remember, for Girona last year, he played on the left a lot. As in fact, I think it was the most he played for Girona on the left-hand side. And some of the best he's played this season was yesterday and that 15-minute cameo. He obviously played well against Chelsea on the right against Cucurella, but he also played really well against Tottenham when we got beat 4-0 in the first 15, 20 minutes. He was causing all sorts of trouble. Stick with the same team against West Ham. Let's do back-to-back, same starting 11s. And let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But people can't be going, well, you said this and it's not worked. We won 2 games in 14. Humble ourselves. We are trying to find a solution. We are trying to find a solution where we stop getting beat. And we finally won a game. Let's stick with the same team that won the game. That's what I'm saying.
Definitely, yeah. Again, was it like a perfect display? Now, and would I make some changes? For example, would I start Bernardo, in midfield? No, that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, let's have some consistency. I think in general, I thought the attackers played quite well. Again, is it perfect? No, but we're not looking for perfect. I'm not looking for 10 out of 10 right now. I'm looking for like 7 out of 10, as like an average right now. Like, it's low expectations, but we're in the low expectation phase. Let's start as like a nice baseline as a 7. I think, as I say, I think most of our players, yes, they were around a 7-ish out of 10 going forwards. And then we'll build from there. But let's just have a nice foundation and have some consistency and have some continuity and build back the confidence, because a lot of these players are done from that perspective, I think. And then bring in fresh blood, feel good vibe, and it can turn like that from like a dressing room
this is
mentality perspective, 100%. Some issues won't, but some will.
Yeah, the confidence, 100%. No, I didn't say play Savino left back. Confidence can come back so quickly if we just get a couple of runs. And I think if the club makes signings early on in that transfer window, we'll go on I think we can do a run, nice little run. Like I said, unfortunately, league-wise, we've just left it too late. We've lost too many games in this. If we would have won a couple, we might still have a chance, but it's too much now, unfortunately. But just get back to a good feeling. And like I say, I'm predicting. I've been quite good on my predictions recently. I'm predicting we have now hit rock bottom. West Ham is still going to be a tough game because they have players like Kudus, Jared Bowen, who on the counter-attack could cause us serious fucking problems. But at the same time, they don't particularly defend well as a side. And sometimes they can be a little wasteful. So we'll see what happens there, man. But if we can get through West Ham, we should then beat Salford. That could be 3 wins in a row. And then, like I say, I think we need players before Brentford, because I really think that's gonna be tricky. Oh, Bowen's injured apparently. Fucking ass. That's a bit of a
yeah. Well, we should be looking to beat West Ham, and also like this should be a game. I know that right now I should be asking for a lot, but West Ham are one of the worst out of possession teams in the Premier League this season. Like, they are coached terribly. by Lopetegui. So I'm expecting us to score a number of goals. I don't care if we're in a run of bad form. West Ham are really bad, and it's at the Etihad. This should be a nice opportunity to get a decent win, like a 3-0 sort of level of win is what we should be aiming for. I know that's like asking for a lot right now, but that is what we should be going for because West Ham are really badly coached as a team, to be honest with you. So we should be beating them quite easily. Should being the operative words there. Should.
Yeah. Kudus. Just before we go, we're going to wrap up now. I know you're on another stream. Would you take Kudus at City? Final question of the stream. Would you take Kudus at City?
He wouldn't be my first choice, but he's a great player. Yeah, definitely. I think he's a great player, but would he be like my first choice or, would I take him over someone else? No. But if it's him or no one, then yeah, he's great.
I'd be open to it, man. He could play anywhere across the front line. He could probably play striker.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player. Obviously, United bought the wrong one, innit, when he went to Ajax. So,
indeed.
Yeah, I'd take him.
Of course, I'll take him, yeah. But if it's like, would you rather have him or someone else, then maybe not. But if it's him or no one, then obviously, yeah, he's a great player.
Okay. Interesting. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you have, make sure you smash a like on it. Come on, guys. We're 10 likes away from 400 likes. There's 1,000 people watching this stream right now. Surely we can get 10 people hit that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Nobbins as well. Anything coming up on the channel, Brie?
The 2 players Manchester City must sign this transfer window. I've identified a midfielder. I've identified a versatile defender. The end goal, fixing Manchester City in the short and long term.
Nice. Cool. Right. That's me done for this stream. Make sure you guys smash a like. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. The final Elbins episode of the year. Thank you very much for coming on this year, man. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy this show every week. So thank you very much for coming on, giving me your time. Thank you for joining us, man, in 2024 on the episodes of Elbins. You know what I mean? It's a great show that we have on the channel. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying it and hopefully many more to come in 2025. Smash the likes, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.
Lovely.
Why is it not ending?
Oh, lovely.